Welcome to Echoes from the Motherland, where we peel back the layers and speak boldly about what matters to the continent and the diaspora. I'm your host, Kuya.
And I'm Kevin. Today's episode is personal, heavy, and necessary. We're diving into this question: why are Africans losing their culture, especially language, faster than other groups?
My name is Lusala. This one hits close to home. I've seen firsthand families abandoning their roots to fit in abroad or even back home. Culture fades if we don't fight to keep it. So I'm excited to have this conversation, guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's start with what we see. African kids who don't speak their native language. I am I'm a culprit of that myself. African names being dropped from for Western ones. Luckily, I think all of us here have actually done a great job of making sure our kids have really strong African names. Cultural ceremonies replaced by Westernized weddings and birthdays. I don't know about that for us anyway. Again, guys, this is just practicing what we preach. And so I think we try to kind of keep our heritage and our culture as much as possible. And then lastly, the kids who know more about Elsa from Frozen, more than Mumbi from Kikuyu legend. I don't even know that myself. However, let's keep rolling.
It's wild, man. The continent that birthed storytelling has kids who've never heard of an African folktale. They've never heard of the story, the legend of Luanda Magera, for example. That's just really crazy.
And I think what's even crazier is this is not just happening in diaspora. I think what's worse is that this is actually happening across major African countries and cities. You're talking about Nairobi, Lagos, Accra. Parents are speaking English in their homes, even when both speak the same native language. So I think this is a pretty big issue, to be honest.
I can't agree more. There's this internal fear. If I teach my child my language, they will struggle in school. Will they be seen as less educated? That fear is valid, but it's rooted in colonial trauma.
Yeah, man. So, speaking of trauma, let's rewind a bit because this didn't start with us. Let's look back in colonial era Africa. Speaking your language could get you punished in school. In Kenya, Tanzania, and Nigeria, kids were caned for speaking their mother tongue. I mean, I remember personally, I had to wear what we called a disc around my neck if I spoke Kiswahili. I mean, that's crazy. Looking back right now, I'm like, my own language was being beat out of me. That's just wild. And missionaries, colonizers, labeled our cultures as primitive, savage, dirty. Education, Christianity, and success were tied to English, French, and Portuguese.
That brainwashing stuck. And we didn't just inherit it, we endorsed it. After independence, we kept the colonial school system. We graded our brilliance by our accents.
Yeah, exactly. The louder the Queen's English, the more respect you got. That's still true to this day in some aspects, I would say, even though you can't say hello to your own grandmother.
Absolutely crazy. And the data backs it up, according to UNESCO, over 2,000 African languages are endangered or at risk of extinction.
That's insane.
In Nigeria, one study found over 60% of urban children under 10 could not speak their parents' native language.
But let's zoom out. Why are other groups doing better? Let's talk about how other cultures have preserved their language better. This one is a good one, man. So I'll jump right into that,
Absolutely,
man.
yeah. So a good example, look at the Hispanic Americans, right? Pew Research found that about 80% of second-hand generation Latinos in the United States of America, they speak Spanish fluently, and nearly 40% of the third generation still do. That's a pretty big numbers. I mean, that's something we should definitely aspire to be, and we see that every day.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. And Indian families, bro, they don't play,
They
man.
don't play, bro.
Community language schools, Bollywood temples, they build cultural ecosystem. They have a whole Bollywood. I mean, movies that, I mean, the whole gamut. I mean, they got it.
Meanwhile, many African households are watching Peppa Pig on loop while Swahili books gather dust. And to be honest with you, getting those books here is pretty hard. So we need a good job of actually creating education systems that can actually transcend to the other parts. We need those shows like Peppa Pig, but in Swahili at that same level where kids can actually engage and enjoy that level of joy and learning of our native tongues.
Yeah, absolutely. Kuya, I think that one of the things, like to your point, we've got no Little Ethiopia, no Swahili Saturday schools, barely any content tailored to us, and worst of all, sometimes, actually, I would say many of the times, we feel ashamed about these things.
Yep. I mean, it's really, really, it is disturbing, to be honest. And that's the real virus, shame. Let's talk about what we are actually losing. Language is the carrier of culture. When we lose it, we lose. I mean, let's think about it. Proverbs, stories, ancestral wisdom, humor, spiritual nuance, identity.
In Swahili, we say, mtoto wa nyoka ni nyoka. The child of a snake is a snake. That means the children of something powerful carries that power too. But if they can't understand it, they forget who they are.
And then we wonder why our kids feel lost. We see a lot of that. They're not lost. They were never given a map, which is why these platforms are so important to try and get us back to where we need to be.
Yep. And so here we are. So we've diagnosed the problem. Now, let's prescribe the cure.
So let's stop the bleeding. Here are 7 ways we can reclaim our future, our culture, starting now. Number 1, start speaking it at home. Even if it's 1 word a day, use your language in greetings, food, commands, and songs. Number 2, make it fun. Kids learn through play. They find African language cartoons, games, and songs. And if you can't find them, create them.
3, I would say, is create language days, for example. Pick 1 day a week to only speak your native tongue at home during dinner. And the other thing you could do would be also cultural naming. Give your children at least 1 name in your native language and tell them its meaning proudly.
Right.
Number 5, what I would say is digital immersion. So follow TikTokers, YouTubers, and authors producing content in African languages. And yes, there are so many of them right now. Expose yourself and your kids to all these social media creators that are in your native language.
Absolutely, Kevin. I would say number 6, form language pods or playgrounds. I think that's huge. Finding other parents in wherever you live in the city or diaspora who want to keep the language alive. I find that this is one of the most easiest ways to have kids acclimated to that. The last but not least here is challenge the shame. I think a lot of people struggle with this. I think the older I've gotten, the more proud I am of my heritage. So if someone laughs at your accent or your child's name, you correct them with pride so that your kid understands this is our inheritance. And don't wait for perfect. Start where you are. With that, 1 proverb, 1 song, 1 name.
Yes, and because if we don't fight for it, who will? So we owe it to ourselves to really push this. No one else is going to do it, and if we all do this, we're going to make a step forward. And thinking about it too, culture is not genetic. It's intentional. So we really got to be intentional about everything we do. If we don't teach it, our kids won't keep it. It's that simple.
Amen, Kevin. I would say so to every African listening, don't let your child be the last link in the chain. Let them be the beginning of a revival.
Absolutely. Love it, guys. So, audience, please drop us a comment. What's 1 word, 1 song, 1 tradition you're passing on to your kids? Boom. That's an episode, bro. That's an episode right there, man. We got one in the books, man.